Hello there. I'm providing some basic information on podcasting. As you can tell, I grew up in the broadcasting generation where audio and or video were broadcast via the airwaves, even with digital media, that is via television or radio. But basically, a podcast is an audio presentation over the internet. It can be in the format of a monologue, a dialogue, an interview, or an audio recording of a book reading, etc. It may use audio sound effects such as music or a background. Some podcasts now also use video and thus are known as vodcasts. Podcasts have to be hosted on a web server, either on your own domain that you purchased, a website with your name of your choice, that is, or which requires a lot of space, so it's very hard to do. Plus, getting traffic to that website is another challenge. Or you can use a podcast host that'll provide space for your podcasts to be uploaded, saved, and for the public to be able to access those podcasts that you have uploaded into that podcast host, which can be for free. Some sites provide it for free, but also for a fee. Remember, when it's free, usually there's advertisement that is related to promoting certain products in order to keep the income level for that podcast host. So things that you need to think about is planning your podcast ahead of time. Why are you doing a podcast? Who are you trying to target to listen to your podcast? Who's your audience, that is? And why would they listen to whatever subject matter you're going to be talking about or recording and presenting? And then, of course, name your podcast. Keep it simple, but let it be descriptive so people understand what this podcast is going to address. Then, as you plan your podcast, think of the length of each episode of podcast. Podcasts are broadcast on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis, or a daily basis if that's what you want to do. And so each of those episodes then need to be a good length, and 15 minutes to about a 45-minute length is generally accepted as a good time frame for people to pay attention to what you have to say on your podcast. And then every episode should have its own simple yet descriptive title. And then remember to choose your format. You can mix and match, I believe. There's nothing wrong with that. But is it going to be a monologue? Is it going to be a dialogue? Is it going to be an interview format? So after you've planned these things out, then the actual recording of the podcast, you need recording equipment, which could include a microphone, headphones, an audio recorder possibly, or equipment like that for recording your audio, and then recording and editing the recording that you've made, which could require a computer hardware, software, and audio software that is able to edit your audio to make it good quality. Then script your podcast before you record, because you want to be able to read what you're going to say on your podcast, since it's a recorded session and people are going to play it over and over and over again, possibly, if they're really interested, especially. And every mistake that we make on a broadcast or podcast, if it's repeatedly played, it's highlighted. So edit your podcast, and that is, edit your voice recordings, edit any video that you've included in there, and then your music background, if you're using music or audio effects in the background, editing those to add into the podcast. And so all of those editing details need to be paid attention to. Then maybe you're just going to use one particular piece of artwork, a graphics artwork, simple yet illustrative, descriptive of what your podcast is about, and it should be attractive as well, to draw attention to why somebody would want to listen to your podcast. Then the final step, of course, is once you're done with all of this planning, recording, editing, and having the podcast ready, then you need to choose a podcast host to publish your podcast. There are many hosts out there for free and or for a fee. Popular ones can be Buzzsprout, Captivate, Podbean, Simplecast. So you would submit to your podcast to directories, or let your podcast host take care of all of that for you, so that your podcast is easily accessible to people on different platforms like Spotify, iTunes, etc. So thinking about what equipment you need to spend a lot of money to have equipment for audio recording. If you have the money and you want to invest it into a very good quality sound and video quality podcast, of course, feel free to do so. But you can simply record directly to a computer. You may use the computer's integrated microphone and speakers for doing these. Most laptops and desktop computers now come with very good graphics and sound cards and can record audio and video very well. And using this method, you can just record maybe a Skype or a Zoom session, and then save it. And of course, do all the editing in another software, like even just Microsoft Photos, which comes with your laptop or computer, uploaded most of the times already. So edit in those softwares, or have other software that you may purchase or download for free. And then once you've edited your podcast, upload that podcast. For audio recording, Audacity is a free open source software for recording, just straight to your computer. And it is advisable to have an updated computer hardware, of course, a good updated computer with updated software, and sound and graphics card, of course, to be able to record well. If you want extra equipment, high quality audio and video recordings, of course, these are things to consider. Of course, you can have high quality cameras, video cameras, camcorders, or just cameras that now digital cameras can do recordings of video as well. So you can invest into that if you want high quality video, if you're especially going to podcast. For your audio, you need to think of, for high quality audio capturing, you would want a USB microphone to be connected to the computer. And there are various microphones out there. The Blue Yeti, it's a built-in microphone headphone jack that you can have connected to your computer, and also has an audio control, a volume control on it. And the cost is about $129 for that. You can have the Rode Podcaster for noisy areas. This is better. It picks up noise from the front, hence it won't pick up any background, or not much of the background and sidebar noises that may be going on in a specific space that you are recording your audio at, because you may not be using a studio per se. And the Rode Podcaster can cost about $230 some. For two or more mics in the same time being used to record, you would need to use dynamic mics, so that they pick up each individual voice and not each other voices overlapping and feedback coming through those other mics. And this is also useful for noisy areas again. Condenser mics for quieter areas, like if you have a very good area, quiet studio type of environment, you could use condenser mics. And then headphones, of course, Audio-Technica M20 just for $50, or M30s for about $70, and just ordinary headphones if that's what you desire. It doesn't have to be very expensive. It just, the more you invest, the better sound quality you hear, so you know what is actually being recorded and how good the output is going to be. Then, of course, you need audio editing, recording software. Like I mentioned earlier, Audacity is a free open source software. You can download that, or just use your voice recorder if that's what you want to do on your computer. Standalone recording machines can also be utilized. That is, a Rode Podcaster is available for about $600. It pretty much can do a lot of the work that you would need to do to record your audio. The complete podcast recording bundle can also be purchased for about $1,000. Now, this would include the Rodecaster Pro Production Studio, the Sterling SB150 SMK Studio condenser microphones, a Tascam TH200X studio headphones, Proline MS112 desktop boom mic. Then it would actually two of each of these, the Sterling studio condenser, the two mics, that is, two headphones, two boom mics, and then two Livewire Essential XLR 5 feet microphone cables, and then 16 gigabyte of Delicon micro SD card for saving your podcast, that is memory cards. Or you could also purchase a Zoom Podcaster instead for $200 for a 4-channel recording, or for $300 you can buy the 6-channel Zoom Podcaster for audio recordings. Then your Behringer Podcaster is a 2 USB home studio and podcasting bundle for just $99, which includes a 5-input mixer USB interface, a dynamic microphone, and headphones, one each of those. So then the last thing again is to think of your podcast host, to choose where you're going to host your podcast, to upload it so people can access it when they want to listen to it, to store podcast audios and make them accessible, that is. And again, free hosting sites are available, but they come with advertisements. That's the norm. Anchor is a free podcast host. Just the word Anchor, you can search it, Google search it, or Bing search it, whatever your preference is, and it provides for unlimited space per se, for free. Podcast.com is also free and unlimited. SoundCloud gives you 3 hours limit of free podcast at a time. That would mean you would have to delete previous podcast recordings once you reach the 3-hour limit, and then add more to reach up to that 3-hour limit. For $6 a month, they would give you a 6-hour limit. For $12 a month, paid annually, you would get unlimited space. So if you just go ahead and pay $120 for the year, you would have unlimited space for podcasting on SoundCloud. As I mentioned, Buzzsprout is free for the first 90 days. Then after the 90 days, 2 hours per month is allowed for free on Buzzsprout. Or you could pay $12 for 3 hours of podcast material to be hosted per month, or $18 for 6 hours worth of podcast to be hosted per month. Or you could pay $24 for 12 hours of podcast video per month, and that's the space you would have. Then Captivate is again free trial for 7 days, or you can pay $19 per month for their starting plan, which includes 12,000 downloads per month. I hope this information has been helpful to you, and I wish you the best. Happy podcasting.